More than 40 Texas school districts are being given what has been termed their last chance to comply with the 1964 Civil Rights Act before receiving an expected suit by the Justice Department and an order to integrate by this fall. The school districts are meeting with some 14 representatives of the Justice Department and Health, Education, and Welfare here at the Texas Education Agency in Austin, just across the street from the Capitol building. The opening session this morning was addressed by Mr. J. Stanley Pottinger. He is the director of the Office of Civil Rights, the head civil rights man in the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare.
As all of you know, the Supreme Court has ruled that the dual school system, the system in which children are separated by race or national origin, must draw to a close this fall. The Supreme Court in the Alexander and Holmes case stated that it must be done now, and I know that all of you are aware of it. You all have excellent school board attorneys who keep you aware of it. Many of your attorneys are here today. The President's statement of March 24th underlined this constitutional necessity, and we are here to help you resolve those problems that remain as the aftermath of the vestiges of the dual system.
The city of Richardson. Now, you do not partake of federal funds. Why are you here anyway?
Well, the federal funds, we have not taken them for a number of years. And at the present time, the question comes up that with the HEW, their jurisdiction is withholding funds for noncompliance. And we feel that since we don't have funds, this does not enter into the situation. And then in discussing this with the fact that we would like to get to the point, once and for all, where we were acceptable and we were in compliance, and if the opportunity arrived that we needed and could attain federal funds, that we'd be in a position to do so. And because of the background and so forth, this what gave us the decision to get, once and for all, a decision from the court. Once we would be in compliance, we would then be eligible by court order.
Thank you very much. Well, that's it for the Richardson School District here at the Texas Education Agency today. These hearings will continue through tomorrow. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move in Austin.
We consider this to be a fair and equitable settlement which was reached through the art of collective bargaining, and I think that we mutually agree that both parties have a good agreement, have a good settlement.
Many residents feel that a tenant union is necessary in the Dallas Housing Authority. There are more than 6,000 units in 11 different projects around Dallas. I've been told that members of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Block Partnership, and Dallas War on Poverty organizers are now making a survey of the area to solicit people to join the tenants union. A tenants union would serve several different purposes, but the primary purpose would be to unify a people that have never been unified in this way before. They also say that they've checked all the laws to make sure that they are in compliance. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Jess Brown.
About the prosecution and persecution of various groups of individuals. Now, does this loitering ordinance mean that a man that wants to lie on the grass in a park and read, the old folks that might sit around and play dominoes, does this mean that they will be picked up on this ordinance?
No, Carl, this is what parks are for. As far as I'm concerned, if at my leisure, if I went to a park, I might well be engaged in just this sort of activity.
Well, we plan to enlist our Republican organizations, our clubs, and our neighborhood headquarters to join in this letter writing program, and we will pass the word in our newsletters and such as this, and encourage people to participate.
Thank you very much. Dr. Tommy, how does your party plan to participate in this?
Sandy, of course, we're delighted to support this program wholeheartedly. We will do this much as Roger will, with news releases, letters to our chairman, have the telephone committee in the downtown office working on this project and encouraging, we hope, many thousands of letters going to Hanoi.
Very good. Do you think that, from your viewpoint, do you think the results is going well for us? Dr. Tommy?
Of course, if you mean results in the success of the letter writing campaign, I'm most happy with it. From what I understand, there have been many, many thousands of letters written as far as results, of course, of the final campaign. All we can do is hope and pray that our boys will be released as a result of this campaign.
Any real indication that these letters are doing any good, that is, obtaining release?
Bill, what do you do about a pregnant porpoise?
Well, there's not a lot we can do except just wait. We had some experience with the unsuccessful birth last year, and we've got some nets here, and we don't want to have to do anything. We want the birth to be normal and us not bother the animals at all.
What special precautions are you taking in case something happens?
We have these nets that we can catch the baby or the mama and the baby out of the water if we have to help them.
Would you bring the porpoise along with the baby? Or?
Last year, the female took the baby to the bottom of the pool and held it. This year, we can catch them both.
Now, this is rather unusual. I don't believe this has ever occurred before in captivity, has it, outside of just here in the Fort Worth Zoo?
Not with the freshwater porpoise.
Well, now, what do you know about a freshwater porpoise?
Very little.
What about the incubation time and so forth?
We don't know the gestation period. We won't learn from this birth what the gestation period is.
Well, when we discussed with the Justice Department, we looked at the information that they found unacceptable, and even in these cases there was considerable difference of opinion relative to other court cases. And so at the conclusion of this particular meeting, it was suggested that resolution of our particular case would probably best be served by court action.
In other words, the Justice Department is going to file on the city of Richardson.
That's correct.
The new 3-year contracts call for hourly wage increases, which should be consistent with anticipated increases in production over that period of time, according to labor and management representatives. New contracts begin July 1st, 1970, and expire June 30th, 1973. Total hourly rates, including wages and fringe benefits for Dallas and Fort Worth bricklayers, will become equal at $8.46.5 per hour on January 1st of 1973.
Well, this is an extra tool for police officers in certain situations to prevent injury to persons and property damage. When they give us a little extra to make an arrest prior to the occurrence of these offenses, we might better be able to prevent a person from being hurt, property from being damaged through the use of this ordinance.
Yes, I think so. In the past, well, in fact, 1 year ago, we had less than 100 letters. And since the world opinion and the press has helped us greatly, and of course, all the news media, now we're up, I understand we have about 285 letters from servicemen in North Vietnam and, prisoners of war in the North. So I think definitely world opinion is making a difference, and you get world opinion by getting the public involved in this.
Have there been any further communiques from Hanoi to any of the wives, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no. Certainly not to the wives in the Fort Worth, Dallas area.
Many residents feel that a tenant union is necessary in the Dallas Housing Authority. There are more than 6,000 units and 11 different projects around Dallas. I've been told that members of Block Partnership, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and the Dallas War and Poverty Community Organizers are making a survey to solicit people for a tenants union. The primary purpose of a tenant union would be to unify people in a way that they've never been unified before. The organizers say that they've checked all the laws to make sure that they are in compliance. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Jess Brown.
You folks have been called together today as representatives of your high school area is in the way of a contact person for the drug program in the Dallas Independent School District. And I've known all of you through the leadership labs this summer or through your backgrounds, and I feel as though each one of you can represent us well and would have the right type of atmosphere with your faculties in order to carry out the program that we have in mind. Now, basically, this meeting is an explanation of what our procedure will be for the Staff Development Day on August the 18th and 19th. And I want to distribute to you a sheet which has some instructions on there, if you'll just pass those around, which has some instructions on there, and also, you can start one going this way, Will, that will have on there the schools that fall in your high school area.
That article indicating that Sheriff Bill Decker might resign shocked and rocked the courthouse this afternoon as the word got out. Sheriff's deputies and friends, close friends of the sheriff, were absolutely shocked at the information, saying that nothing like this could ever happen, and particularly through the media of the press, because Sheriff Decker just doesn't operate that way. There were many implications in the article, and Judge Lou Sterrett was part of that. Now, Judge Sterrett has been on vacation, has just returned in town this evening. I'm here at Judge Sterrett's home and going to ask him some questions about that article. Judge, it was said in there that you cut your vacation short to come back to present some recommendations to the Commissioner's Court. Is this true?
Well, first, Carl, it would be very improper for me to make any suggestions to the Commissioner's Court concerning Decker's plans to resign or to resign. That comes strictly under the head of Decker's business. When I left here from for Atlanta, Georgia, I knew that Decker was a pretty sick man, and I talked to him daily. Even the 2 days that he was so sick, I talked to him. Also talked to his doctor and talked to his wife. I picked up some rumors when I'd called my office that there's some talk of Decker resigning. Of course, this is to be expected. And under the conditions, a lot of people are pretty ambitious and would like to be sheriff. But Decker has told me that he has no immediate plans of resigning.
So far, we have come up with absolutely nothing to confirm that article. I've talked with several of Sheriff Decker's close friends, and they say he's feeling very well and should be back behind his desk sometime next week. This is Carl Mayo, Channel 8 News.
Mr. Irwin has something to do with almost everything that happens at the University of Texas, at Austin, or anywhere else.
Dr. Silver, some of the other members of the faculty have said they are going to resign as a result of this action taken against you. What do you think about that?
I hope that will not be the case. I made a statement to the newspapers and to the television stations in Austin yesterday saying that I had learned through letters and through phone messages that some members of our faculty were planning to resign, and I urged all individuals who had said this to me or who had written to this effect to change their minds. Unfortunately, for the University of Texas, the faculty are not playing games. We have received already 3 resignations in writing to my knowledge, and I'm very much afraid that more will come.
Would you class yourself as a militant?
Very definitely not as a militant. I think I classify myself as a conservative. I don't believe in campus unrest. I don't believe in demonstrations that are disruptive. I think that there are institutions of law, and due process of law should be observed.
What is your major complaint in the rise in the valuation?
Well, my major complaint is that people around here just can't pay that sort of a tax. There's not another district around here that taxes the land like the Hurst-Euless Bedford School District.
Can you give any reason for it?
Well, I don't know of any reason except maybe the school board and the tax collectors trying to get us to sell our land.
Is this going to mean a higher sales tax?
It very possibly could mean an increase in the sales tax.
Would you vote for an increase?
No. No, I voted, I would not be for an increase in the sales tax. I think that, first off, a sales tax increase, the 3/4 that I think we could reasonably go up, would fall short of the money that we need.
Although the legislators agree there's going to be a big budget deficit in the next biennium, not to mention the current biennium, but the question of where the money will come from, that's the one that's unanswered. Will it be an increase in your state sales tax, or will there be a corporate or even a personal income tax? At least one state senator, who at this time has asked us not to use his name, has raised the question of constitutionality on this rob Peter to pay Paul theory, that is, transferring of funds from one agency to another in order to make up deficits. Specifically, he mentions a transfer of $13 million from the construction to the welfare fund. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move at the state capitol.
Rabies is a neurogenic virus, which simply means it's a virus that attacks and destroys the central nervous system, the spinal cord, and the brain.
How does it get from animals to people?
Generally speaking, by bite only. There are other ways, but they're extremely rare, usually only by bite.
You almost have to get bitten by an animal in order to contract rabies yourself.
Yes, not only bitten, but a good deep bite. Rabies virus is hard to transmit, so it usually takes a bite deep into the flesh to transmit the disease.
How does it affect the animals who have rabies?
Well, at first there's no effect during the incubation period. Then the animal experiences a change in disposition. For instance, a normally lovable animal becomes not so lovable, or an animal that usually doesn't like people will try to sit in your lap, or something unusual. Then they will go through a phase which is usually called the furious rabies, which means they walk or run aimlessly and bite anything that moves. Then they get to the point that most people call dumb rabies, whereby the nerves of the face become paralyzed and the jaw hangs down and they salivate and they're incapable of anything except just breathing and living. And then a few hours after that they die. Invariably they die. "85 to 90% of our rabies is in wildlife, foxes, skunks, coyotes, that sort of thing. And each year, the disease is less and less in the limelight, and so the percentage of vaccinates goes down and down, and we have more and more strays to the point that we're very vulnerable. Then we have another outbreak, and we cycle all over again. In my view, we're just about ready to cycle again. I think we're about ready to have trouble.
That article in today's paper took everyone here at the Sheriff's Office by complete surprise, including Clarence Jones, Alan Sweat, and needless to say, Ed Cruz, who, according to that article, would be bounced. I spent all day here at the Sheriff's Office trying to verify that story. I've talked with numerous Sheriff's deputies and many of Sheriff Decker's close friends. According to Sheriff Decker's closest friends, the Sheriff is feeling well and should be back behind his desk sometime next week. This morning, the sheriff was feeling very well and in good spirits. It is the feeling of all of Sheriff Decker's deputies and good friends that he would never handle his business through the news media, and that if any changes were to be made, he would make them personally. In short, I have found no way to substantiate this story. Carl Mayo, Channel 8 News.
Well, I think it was forced from a necessity of failing to plan ahead. Actually, from a technical standpoint, I think this can be questioned whether it's constitutional authority to transfer $13.5 million, but you've got to do it when you get in a bind, or that, on the other hand, have a special session.
Some sources say that we may need as much as $600 million for the next biennium in new tax money. What is your solution to this?
Well, I talked about finances, our crisis in the 70s. First of all, I want to have the short-term approach to the problem and then a long-term. The short-term is, instead of saying let's have more taxes and just accept this, we try to do some short-term planning on seeing what we can do to avoid more taxes, and this is why I favor the Economy Commission. It's been favored by Democrats, Governor Connolly, for many years. I want to do this. Secondly, to do some reforming in our method of making our budget. We now have a joint conference committee where they get in the back room and put new items in the budget, have never been discussed by the House or the Senate. This is wrong.
Well, I would hope that we haven't lost any friends over this, because I would think that anyone who has children in the Dallas Independent School District would want the best possible teachers and would be willing to pay for these quality teachers.
Mr. Hardesty, what is your mother's complaint concerning the valuation of her property?
Well, about 3 years ago, they actually practically doubled the valuation out here, and then just recently, in the last 30 days, so they've actually run up about another 240% above that.
What was it valued at 3 years ago?
$36,000 on the 3 year ago evaluation. Now it's up to about $87,500.
How much money per year does this mean in increased taxes?
Well, it was running in the neighborhood of approximately $700 a year, and now it's going to be up close to $1,600 a year.
As we try to tell them, any appraiser or tax office doesn't really make the value. It's what people are selling their property for and what they're paying for it.
What has caused it to go up?
Well, of course, the regional airport taking 18,000 acres out of the area. You've got an area between two cities that are growing. There's only so much land. The McAtee properties are coming in with a Bedford farm, and Sears are coming in, and there's just a great demand for land in this area.
When the session begins in January, the legislature can pass an emergency appropriation to take care of the remainder of the fiscal year.
From where will they get this money?
Well, we will be able to appropriate from other funds or
shift from Peter to Paul.
That's about it. Our big problem, I think, comes from the fact that at this moment, we're looking at a need for some $530 million upward. And of course, during the session, there will be numerous requests for additional appropriations.
Excuse me, during the current biennium or for the next biennium?
Well, for the next biennium.
Some 500 to 600 million additional.
Oh, yes, and this looks like it's going to be the largest tax budget that's ever been passed in the history of Texas.
we fight a war is completely clear-cut. In other words, the war is a foreign invader war from the north and the Vietcong itself.
In other words, you're not comparing it with what may be termed a civil war.
No, we are not we are not in civil war. We're not fighting the Cambodian. We're fighting the North Vietnamese and the Vietcong.
This is not a civil war. It's just Cambodia has been invaded by foreign troops. And we are not fighting our own brother Cambodians, as the South Vietnamese are doing with the North Vietnamese. These are the war between the Cambodians and the Vietnamese communists, if I may add.